Welcome back to the Print on Demand cast. On this week's episode, we have an interview with Jay De Souza. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Print on Demand cast. My name is Josiah. I am one half of the hosting contingent of this show, and it is great to be chatting with all of you. We have a great show for you today, but before we get into the meat and potatoes of this show, do us a favor. Whatever you're listening to this podcast on, whether it's iTunes, whether it's Spotify or Google, whatever it is, subscribe, give us a rating, share the show, get the information out there. It'd be greatly beneficial, and we'd be greatly appreciative. And who is we? As always, my co-host for this show, Travis Ross, joins me. Travis, welcome to the show. We got a good interview about to come up, and I'm really excited for people to take a listen. It's going to be
it's really great. It's really long too.
It is very long. So we're going to keep the waffle section very short, just to an appetizer. There is no point of interest as usual. Whenever we do an interview, we don't do a point of interest, just to give some more time to the guest to share what they have to share. And I can tell you there's so many good tidbits, nuggets, tips in this one. So let's just get straight into it. All the way from Belize, our guest on this episode, our interview with Jay De Souza.
Ladies and gentlemen, the main event.
All right, Travis, for this week's main event, we have a guest. I feel like it's been a while since you and I have both hosted a guest on the show. So I'm really looking forward to this. Very excited to have our guest with us. We have Jay De Souza coming up in an interview. And for those of you who don't know Jay or haven't heard of Jay, I'll tell you a little bit about himself. Or a little bit about him. Jay left the corporate world to protect his mental health and dove into Etsy and found print on demand by accident over 10 years ago. I'm looking forward to asking how he found it by accident. That's awesome. Jay was a co-creator 6+ years ago of the first Etsy crash course and the first Etsy 30-day challenge, which ran for 3 years. Fast forward to 2023, and thanks to POD, Jay was invited to speak at Printify's first annual Amplified Pod Summit in Riga, Latvia, and just moved to Belize to escape the Canadian winters. Jay also has the largest Etsy-specific POD Facebook group called Etsy Print on Demand with over 20,000 members, and his YouTube channel can be found by typing at Jay's Way Works. And we'll put all of that in the show notes as well. But we are excited to welcome to the show Jay De Souza. Jay, thank you so much, man, for joining the show. Yes, the studio audience is running wild. They're very happy you're here.
It's always humbling, and the privilege isn't lost on me. So I appreciate the time.
Yeah, man. I feel like we've ran in some similar circles for a lot of years now, and I've kind of seen your stuff from afar. There's a couple of print on demand people that I know of, but I've never really connected with. So it's really cool to connect with you. We're really glad that you're here on the show, and you are actually in Belize right now, which is just, I'm totally jealous. I mean, it's like, it's like colder than it's just cold. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. What's the current temperature down there in Belize, Jay?
Oh, I don't know. It's actually cold here right now, and I'll quote unquote cold when I say that. It's probably, I'm going to say 22 degrees Celsius. So double that and add 30, you're looking at like 74 or 76.
Oh man, it's freezing.
Which is cold for here. Yeah. Back home in Ontario, Canada, I guess this is home now, but back in the ex-home, it's I'm looking out the window. Sorry, it's they got I think 6 inches of snow on the ground right about now. So
nice.
Nice to be
you
out of that.
You definitely win that exchange for sure.
Yeah. Heat is it's a force though. I'm not used to it, so getting kind of acclimated there. Myself and my dog. My wife is all over it already. She's loving every minute of it. So.
Nice.
Well, that's cool. Well, thanks for making time for us, man. We'll just jump right in, and
sure.
It'd be great to hear your print on demand story. Josiah kind of shared a little bit in the intro, but how you found print on demand by accident. So would you just share like how you got into print on demand and like kind of the steps of your journey to where you're at today?
Sure. Yeah. I started, well, I was a graphic designer by trade. I've been 20 years now, 20 plus years in the graphics biz, or I guess started back then. But then I ended up managing at Yellow Pages, which I think you guys had in the States too. It was Canada's number one publisher at the time. I just kind of worked my way up the ranks in 18 months pretty quickly and ended up managing 144 graphic designers. So that was kind of, a really quick kind of managerial, I guess, tick box on the resume. And then Lighthouse came. So being the youngest manager on that kind of echelon there, I kind of found myself scrambling because once you go from a unionized kind of artist job to management, now your head's on the chopping block, right? As long as, because there's no managerial or union element protecting you anymore. So I had to jump ship, and that was right into the arms of TD Bank's data center. And that was an insane amount of stress. Like 12-hour shifts, a week of days, a week of nights, but it would flip flop, or not even a week. It was like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Now, don't forget, you got an hour and a half on each end of that for driving through traffic. And then, you're off Thursday, Friday, and then you're back in Friday night at 7 p.m. till 7 a.m. Saturday morning. So like you just kind of get to a situation where you're sort of napping for 3-4 hours at a time. And in the winter in Canada, I mean, I don't know, it probably gets dark, Colorado's probably not much different that way, but from 4 p.m. in the winter in Canada, you don't know if it's AM or PM. It's dark, right? Yeah. So it's that, and it got to a point where mental health was absolutely suffering. And I was chatting with another manager. We were team leads. I had a team of 8 working under me, I guess, and chatted with another team lead, and he actually, so one morning, and it sounds terrible, but I'm glad it was kind of like a revelation. I thought of trying to hurt myself, not in a suicidal way or anything like that, but I was definitely trying to hurt myself enough to not have to go into work. Like maybe I could just break an ankle, or maybe I could like accidentally like shut my finger in the car door. I'm like, what is going on? Like when you start thinking thoughts like that, just to escape that, because we'd have like 3-day conference calls, and you're consolidating kind of, hundreds of millions of dollars at the end of the month, and executives are hammering at you. And then another counterpart, he pinged me on, at the time it was Office Communicator, like like an MSN for us old guys. But he said to me, Jay, that same morning, like, have you ever thought of hurting yourself just enough so you didn't have to come into work? And I was like, dude, like, okay, I'm not the only one here. I got to get out of here. This is crazy. So I went and spoke to a shrink, and basically she said, you already know you need to get out of there. So I had to pull the trigger at that point to kind of jump ship. It just wasn't, I was super toxic, man. I was getting home, like 8-9 o'clock sometimes. Well, no, 9:30 sometimes at night after a 7 p.m. finish. And then the only way I can get to bed, because I got the anxiety of having to get up at 4 a.m. is like, have a couple of drinks. Right. And it started to kind of, 1 or 2 turned into 3 or 4. And then, before you know it, it's like you need it. I was kind of getting dependent on it, and then just turning into a bit of a, a not so nice person. Yeah. So then
we all know what you meant, Jay.
Okay.
So just kind of, one of those things where you just, you realize that, we had just gotten married, we had just bought a house. So like the bills were there. I just had to jump into, whatever I was doing freelance full time. So I hammered out Kijiji ads, Craigslist ads. They're all the online classifieds. Turns out that there's limits to how many you can actually post. Who knew? But I went like full throttle with all these ads. And one of the guys that we ended up being friends, he, like I was doing it out of despair and necessity, really. He gave me a shout, wanted me to design some t-shirts for him. This guy was selling on Etsy and using a plotter and, doing heat transfer vinyl at the time, HTV. And that was kind of like the closest thing to like a print on demand back then, or like 2012. Sure. And then I started doing that for him. And at the time it was like, I negotiated, he wanted to pay like $5 or $6 a design. I got him up to 15. I said, look, like I'll make, bangers and they'll sell for you. But then as soon as I realized like this guy's like making money hand over fist on one shot, and done designs, and I'm like, what are we doing here? So I changed the arrangement to $3 a pop royalty US for t-shirts and $5 for hoodies or sweatshirts. So, and then all of a sudden, so now I had a vested interest, right? Create real bangers and then, just make way more than $15 one time, right? So that's kind of like where this residual income and this sort of passivity element kind of entered my full scope, right? I had no idea what that was. So that was essentially like, then I opened up my Etsy shop and he was fulfilling my orders. So that was like my first kind of kick at the print on demand can. So it's been kind of crazy. And then another guy that answered one of my online classified ads, I was doing like I got pretty busy pretty quickly with the portfolio I had. And he told me that he was going to put me in touch with these two young guys who were at the time working out of the garage that they had just renovated and bought these Brother DTG machines. So before there was GTX, I think it was just a GT or something. Yeah.
I remember those. They're like I know exactly the GT, like 460 or 640
correct.
Or something like that. And they didn't have any white. It was just all color.
No.
Right.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And and I was like, wait, what? And then they were telling me that I could just continue because I was an artist. I airbrushed t-shirts in high school, that sort of thing, and was like hustling t-shirts since I was a kid, right? But they were like, yeah, no, you don't have to design simple vector graphics now that are readable, which is if you guys know anything about HTV, it's a pain in the butt. I was allowed to go full throttle on my artwork now. I'm like, what is this? This is crazy. I can make designs that look like they're basically airbrushed or hand drawn, and these printers were insane. So then I that was the last of the vinyl pressing for me or for my friend for my shop. And I just ended up using them to, fulfill my orders, and they ended up blowing up. And to the tune of like 50 Brother GTXs when the GTXs came out in a facility, and then ended up selling their whole business, which now is purchased by a new company who is on Printify's roster. So like they went from in the garage to like full throttle, which is pretty awesome. So I don't know, been around the block in terms of seeing the industry kind of grow, and it sounds like you guys have too. So that's pretty awesome, right? There's not many of us that can say that.
Yeah. The OGs.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's a cool story. So so you were doing Etsy before what is now called Amazon Merch on Demand kind of came out, right? So I'm assuming you were doing Etsy, and then you hear about this Amazon thing. Were you selling on Amazon also already, like on the Seller Central side, or was merch kind of your first dipping your toe in the water with Amazon?
Merch was absolutely my first, getting the feet wet there. I had been approached by somebody in the merch community so I got to back up here. So on Etsy, I ended up having a bunch of awesome designs like start taking off. I was making pretty good money, hand over fist kind of thing. And it was like kind of blowing my mind a bit, right? Because it was like the side hustle turning to like fruition, and all really I've ever wanted to do was sell t-shirts. So it kind of worked out, but it was, a bit beside myself. But then there were these shops out there that were bigger, badder, and had more money, and they would steal my artwork, trademark the phrases and copyright everything, and then serve me takedowns. So I had to protect my brands. And then which is nuts, right? Like it's absolutely brutal. It's still a prevalent issue today. 10 years later, still a thing. But so I had to register my own trademark, and or a couple at the time actually, and one of the I guess people in the merch community approached me to license my trademark. So, and then told me about merch at the time, Merch by Amazon. So that was how I found out about merch. And to answer your question in a long way, that was my first inclination of even thought of selling on Amazon at all. but super grateful that that opportunity kind of came my way, because it's been a game changer. It's life changing, right? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
fast forward now, are you, in terms of channels you're on? I know we've talked a lot about Etsy. You mentioned Merch by Amazon. Are you still on Merch by Amazon, and are you selling on other channels other than Etsy, or what's that look like to you as far as diversification of where you're selling your items?
so right before Merch, I had tried to like the actual hands-off kind of similar vein was I threw up a bunch of stuff on Redbubble and TeePublic, and I still make, I think to this day, like about $100 a month combined on those. Haven't uploaded in like 8 years or so, but
Yeah.
but yeah. So other channels, no. Right now, it's I have I have one Shopify store. My wife has a Shopify store. She got in the game too,
Nice.
but I don't have the time to put, or haven't taken the time or made the time to put the effort behind the marketing and all that. But a couple organic sales here and there. But Etsy is the forte. Together we have 5 shops, and Merch is just it's crushing it. I mean, I haven't touched it in 4 months with getting ready to move to Belize, and
Yeah.
I'm still like, I'm in tier 8,000 with 1,400 designs, and I think my last 7 days is pushing $6,000. So
Wow.
I
Wow.
can't. Yeah,
It's incredible.
I'm stoked. It has been life changing for me that way.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of I've had all the designs already for Etsy, right? It was just figuring out what worked on Merch, because the
Sure.
Merch shopper, the Amazon shopper, just isn't, or wasn't, especially 5 years ago or 4 years ago, the as aesthetically educated. I would say that it's more like they wouldn't appreciate kind of the boutique element of the designs that you would get on Etsy. So
Yeah.
like, you can't take a Merch design and go put it on Etsy. It probably won't sell. But at the time, you needed, like, the Etsy designs that were going up on Merch were kind of too advanced, or too, it's like that. I was kind of alluding to how the
Different.
UK's ahead of us in a fashion
Yeah.
sense by a few years, right?
Yeah.
But now it's all coming together. Like, anything that's selling really well on Etsy, I can put it up on Merch, and like, buyers know what they're looking for now, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're definitely different, or at least they were. And I think still to a degree, they're different kinds of shoppers on the different channels. You've got your Etsy buyers definitely different than your Walmart buyer or your eBay buyer. But I think you're right. I think Amazon and Etsy are they're getting a little closer together as far as like the type of buyer you're selling to. We did an episode way back kind of comparing each of the different sales channels to different like shops in like a mall or something. And so like Etsy was like the boutique, Amazon was like the entire mall, Walmart was Walmart, and then eBay was kind of like your secondhand store or something like that, and those are kind of, I mean, I know that's a gross generalization, but it's really kind of helps you identify those types of buyers and like how you're going to communicate with them. Cause it's very important, I think, to know who your buyer is when you're focused in on a specific channel and creating listings for that channel.
For sure, for sure. I would even say the constructs behind the design, like the titles, tags, keywords, all that is a little bit different. Like you say, I think we seem to agree that I think they're coming closer together as far as the Etsy and Amazon goes now. But there was a time for sure where I would write listings entirely differently from one platform to another, for sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit ago, you have 5 Etsy shops. So do you just sell apparel on all 5 of those, targeted different niches? Do you sell other products besides just apparel on those shops? What's that look like in terms of, products you're offering?
Yeah, so one shop is for sure a general kind of store. The very first one, it's what I just kind of was putting everything under the sun up,
Sure.
and just testing what worked. And at the time, everything was selling. But as soon as I don't think I have more than 600 listings. At one point, I had 800 in it, and then after they expire, you renew them a year. If they're not selling in a year, then I just let them go and maybe tweak them. Something's wrong, right?
Sure.
But that said, the other 4 have all been niched, and not one has more than 300 listings in it, and it's all apparel. And my wife's. If it wasn't for my wife's shop in there, I think my 3 other niche shops are under 200 listings, or maybe 210. And they just crank, man. Cause like average order values are higher. People come, when you have a branded kind of element or
Right.
serving a niche with something a little bit different than what's already out there, people come back and they're excited they become your brand ambassadors, and they just want to, go tell everybody about it, or, buy gifts, especially this time of year, for people in their circles, right? That's the power of kind of, niching down a bit. So for us, that's it. It works great for us. My wife has started to add various different products now, and she's almost swaying me to start adding some things, because I have there's so many products that would just make sense. At least like 4 or 5 I'm eyeballing now, but like I've always just done t-shirts. I know how to design for it and it's good, but there's some things that I think I should probably incorporate, right? Because you never want to get stagnant, and I've been lucky enough to go this long without getting stagnant. So I think there will come a time where I'll have to reintroduce, if not new designs all the time, then at least put them on a new product or a different product, right?
Yeah. So let's focus it a little bit on like kind of print on demand as an industry, and I'm just curious, do you have a specific sense of, or just in your opinion, where do you see the biggest opportunities right now in print on demand? Because you hear it all the time. Oh, it's all saturated. You can't make any money anymore. And the only people that are making money are people that started their stores years ago. And while I agree with that statement, there are people that are making a lot of money that started their stores years ago, but they also have, I mean, you start your store today, and in a couple years, you'll be one of those that have made a lot of money and started your stores years ago, So, I just want to hear what you think is, some of the bigger opportunities right now in print on demand. And I guess, I'll just tag it with, do you think, print on demand is saturated? That's a softball question, man. It's such a softball question.
Is print on demand saturated? So I literally was having this conversation yesterday, probably mostly with myself, but saturation to me, like everyone's been saying that, all the niches are saturated, print on demand saturated, t-shirts saturated. If I remember my chemistry 101, by this point, you'd think it'd be super saturated, which means you cannot have any more possible, entrance into those niches. But like people are starting shops in 2023 and they're hitting 100K on Etsy, right, in revenue. So no, saturation to me is like, if you're balking at the idea of going into niches or a product type, like a t-shirt type shop realm that you think is saturated, that's just for me, all I hear is you're afraid of competition, and that's all I hear. So no, not saturated, man. Like I would rather,
amen.
Yeah, I would rather have that tiniest piece of this massive pizza pie than own this hockey puck sized Canadian and me hockey puck sized pie, right? Like it's just
totally.
I don't know. Everybody always wants these what is it? High search volume and low competition keywords. The focus should be on the niche research. You'll come up inherently, your designs will just be better. It's going to be easier. Sometimes low demand just means sometimes low competition, just means low demand, right? And that's the nuts and bolts of it for me. I think everybody overthinks all this, the keywording thing, man. Like if you know your niche, then that stuff comes easily to you, right? And if you don't know your niche, then learn it. That's where the time should be spent, I think.
Yeah.
So no,
that's
not
really,
saturated.
really good advice. Yeah. Really good advice. So do you see, do you feel that like Etsy is the biggest opportunity right now in print on demand? Or are there other places that, you're seeing opportunities that maybe you're looking at for next year? And we'll actually talk about your goals for 2024, but I'm just curious if there's, I guess my question is, do you think that there's anything better than Etsy right now for somebody who's just getting into the print on demand game?
Okay, so 2 different questions there, I guess. The opportunity for me is lying on what I think I can do with Amazon and like Printify, for example, right? Like using leveraging Amazon Seller Central, because I'm seeing the power of merch right now, and I'm seeing how crazy I can blow that up with 1,400 listings in like a small tier. But I'm also seeing the pain points. I've got my own registered trademarks, and merch keeps rejecting me for my own IP, right? So, and then it takes like 3 months to kind of go through the rigmarole, and then okay, you can relist, and then sure, I'll relist 5 of them. The 6th one will get rejected, and we go through the whole thing again. So, that said, I'm just looking at doing a Seller Central thing because no one's going to bother me, right? And I think fees aside, because everyone complains about fees, we'll just raise your prices, incorporate the fees. Like that's business 101, right? But that said, is there a space where, as a newbie coming into print on demand, better than Etsy? I don't think so. I don't believe so, really. It's like, I was kind of saying this, it goes back to the conversation I had with Joe Robert, the Shopify versus Etsy thing on at Printify Amplified. And it was just like, for me, trying to have your .com, you're trying to get somebody, interrupt their feed, they're scrolling, and get them to pull off the highway that is the Facebooks of the world, and then get them to pull into that dealership to buy that luxury vehicle. And then, you're lucky to sell more than one to them a year or every 5 years. Where on Etsy, it's like going into a luxury flea market with people ready to buy. People don't go to Etsy to browse unless they're like us, looking for inspiration. In terms of sellers, people are on Etsy to buy, man. They're ready to check out. So like, no, it's like, it's almost idiot proof. If your designs are decent and somewhat different, don't just do more of the same, that everybody else did. Those retro 50s mascot ghosts for Halloween, right? Like, or no more retro sunsets, please. But but that kind of thing.
Remember all the dabbing Santas too? Remember those?
Yeah.
They were dabbing everything.
Which will still sell on Amazon for another year or two for sure.
Right? It will.
But no, I don't think there's a better opportunity than Etsy right now. I mean, it's the lowest fees of all the platforms, really. That is, and people complain about the fees all the time. Like, just ballpark that you're going to lose about 12% to fees, and you should be covered, right? Man, like the print on demand industry, I think Etsy in the third quarter had 90 billion shoppers. Like that's like a stupid number, right? And I don't even know what the Q4 numbers are looking like, but it makes zero sense to not be on Etsy if you're coming new to the game, because it's the easiest. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's the easiest kind of lowest barrier to entry, kind of kick at the can for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we always get a lot of questions on Etsy. I've told Travis, we look at our episode analytics and stuff, and anytime that Etsy's discussed, the listenership of that episode spikes significantly, because I think everyone realizes that Etsy probably is that lowest barrier to entry, so they want to absorb as much information about how to navigate, how to have the best success on that platform. So we see them, a lot of people just aggregating information about it, and so we'll see what that looks like in the future. I'd be interested to see, there's new platforms popping up all the time. Will something pop up that will kind of be the new Etsy, or, will Etsy become the Amazon? Who knows? But I do sympathize with your merch by Amazon woes, because that happened to me so often. Like, dude, this is something I like have the copyright to, or I know the actual owner of that copyright. Please stop taking my shirt down.
No kidding.
Frustrating.
So
tell us a little bit about your POD workflow. Obviously, you're in Belize, so you're not like cranking out shirts yourself, unless you have a shop down there. We just haven't gotten to that part of your story yet. But all of that to say, what's your print on demand workflow for like creating listings on Etsy and merch? What's that look like for you?
Man, so I literally put a video together today about that, or sent to the editor for now, because I don't have the time to edit, but anymore. And this is kind of goes with the package here. It's like, don't necessarily, when it comes to Etsy, sorry, I'm digressing already, but I would consider Etsy, like to what you said, low barrier is like, it's like e-commerce with training wheels or the tricycle, right? So it's the easiest one that way. But in terms of like coming up with new designs, the workflow, I'll just, dive into one of my niches, or in this case, like today or yesterday, what I was going on about was I dove into a nursing niche. I'm not a nurse. I don't know much about it. And the only way I'm going to hit, and those designs are going to hit the mark and land and not make me feel or seem like an imposter trying to sell, is by learning about the niche, like learning about nursing, right? So I wasn't going to spend my time learning about nursing, but my sister's a psych nurse. So I asked her for 5 quotes that, sayings or whatever that are funny inside jokes that they say at their nursing station, blah, blah, blah. Right. So like, yeah, she gave me a list, and I'll pull it up because it's absolutely worthwhile and hilarious. But that's the kind of thing. So like you can leverage people, so people are buying, at Christmas right now, everyone's trying to do Christmas stuff, but you don't have to do that. People are buying gifts for people, right?
Right.
Like I'm not going to buy my sister a Christmas shirt. I'm going to buy her something that I hope she wears more than just through Q4.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or through December, right? So like hitting the nail on the head for something like that is where you go. So like she said, some of these I can't read out loud, but one of them was, oh man, where did she say here? Yes, I'm a nurse. No, I don't want to look at it.
That's
you
great.
you can't fix stupid, but you can sure as hell sedate it.
Yep.
If you have OCD and you know it, wash your hands. You know what I mean? Like these are killer. And Code Brown in nursing, the worst period ever. If you know, you know. Yeah.
Wow.
Psych nursing. Are we allowed? Oh, I won't cuss, but psych nursing, the only profession where you get hit, kicked, spit on, and have seen more male genitalia than most prostitutes.
Those are great.
Like, yeah, and it goes on, and I was like, she just went on a tangent, and it was incredible because I was like, I didn't want her to overthink it because she's an overthinker, so am I.
Right.
We all kind of go down our rabbit holes, but I was like, but that's what you got to do, man. Like, just pump the brakes, think about the niche, find somebody. Like everybody has a family member or a friend who's in a profession that all have their quips. I don't care if you're laying bricks, building houses, whatever you're doing in a corporate environment. You always have those, like, I don't know if you guys ever worked in a corporate environment in a data center. There was like this ID 10T error. And I was like, I had no idea what ID 10T was until you actually write it out. It says idiot. It's idiot error. It's like otherwise, AKA user error, right? So like little things like that, you would never know until you've kind of experienced that. So like look at those, look to those niches. If you're trying to dive into stuff that you don't know, then ask people in the niches, like aim for what your family does or family members, friends do. But otherwise, I would say go for niches that you're a part of yourself to start for sure. If you're starting on Etsy, like it's something you know already. Like if you are the subject matter expert in a room of 10 people, that's the one thing you should be diving into because you'll be able. There's a million people out there that want to buy your stuff, and you're obviously going to do a better job than the other 10 people in that room, right? At those things. So. That said, my day-to-day workflow, man, like it's mostly research like that. I'll come up, like try to, dive in and really get into all the slogans and sayings, the cliche things, but then you go a little bit deeper, and Chat GPT has been great for that now. I would Google like for cycling now or fishing, I'm into fishing. So, I mean, that's an easy one, but like you can never run out of material if you know the niche inside out. It just doesn't. I've yet to hit a wall. Sometimes you just feel uninspired, so you move over to niche number 2 now, and then you run that out for a bit. But like there's so many ways to come up with funny cliches and bonus points for alliteration. Bonus points if you have a little bit of an aesthetic that you can bring, like a new aesthetic to old designs works just as well as new ideas in the niche for quotes. And words on shirts, man, will have always sold and will always sell. So you don't have to be a great designer. I happen to be a graphic designer. I like to stylize. Well, that's the worst camera here, but I like to work with type and stuff, and call myself a typographist to that degree. I'll draw letters, but I don't. You don't need to. You just don't need to. You can put words on shirts, and if you're the first one putting those particular words on the shirt, it'll sell. Like that's That's as easy it is. So like I'll start, writing out the things, and then I'll try to make stack words and make them all balanced and stuff. Learn Design 101, anybody out there. But now there's apps out there that we didn't have, right? I didn't have YouTube to go to. I didn't have the Kittles, the Canvas, all those tools. I had to learn Photoshop, Illustrator, and ask people what they thought of stuff. And of course, the friends and family are going to lie to you because they don't want to hurt your feelings. So yeah, it sucked. They suck. Why isn't my mom likes it? But yeah, why is it not selling? Right?
It's because your mom lied to you. That's why.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you're not the cutest. You're not the cutest kid on the block.
You need a design equivalent to a Simon Cowell to just sit you down and tell you that. This is not
the hard truth, right? And that's where that's kind of where what brought me into the whole YouTube thing too, like getting my own channel and getting into the coaching, is because people have been fed lies, and I'm kind of I'm kind of sick of it, right? Like everybody asks in these groups, like my SEO is on point. I think this is good. I think this is good. This is good, but I'm not making sales. Why? Everybody skirts around it. It's because your designs suck. Like you know what I mean? You can have all the keywords and pump all the ad dollars behind it, but if your design sucks, it just becomes expensive crap, because you're getting the clicks because people can't make out. If your design is going to suck, at least do it really big so nobody clicks on it, right? If it's a little convoluted or confusing, then they're going to click on it, and that costs you money, and then they're going to be like, "Oh, this sucks." Right?
This sucks.
Yeah. So like nobody wants to talk about
I couldn't tell before. I couldn't tell before that this sucked, but now that I see it on my entire screen, oh my gosh, where's the trash can so I can barf? Yeah, we say that all the time.
If you're gonna suck, just do it high contrast in bold letters, so at least everyone can see it a mile away, right?
Suck in bold letters is a great T-shirt idea. So
that's
suck in bold letters. Okay,
I suck. That's awesome. Somebody will buy that. But I mean that's all. That's all there is to it. And if an easy way, I don't know, you guys are gonna have to cut me off here, but an easy way to tell if your designs suck is like, especially on Etsy, is like pull up 4 of your designs on the first page, right? Ask your friends or family members, the people that we tell you that will probably lie to you to protect your feelings. Don't tell them which are yours, but ask them which 5 are the best. And if yours isn't one of those 5s, it sucks. That's it. Right? It's not, maybe not sucks, but sure not good enough. Number 6, number 7 isn't good enough, right?
Sure.
Yeah. 100%.
That's great advice. Yeah.
So let's take advantage of Mr. Etsy here, and Jay, why don't you share maybe some best practices? I know you just kind of did. If you're going to suck really big,
suck in bold letters,
so you don't spend money on those Etsy ads. But are there any like best practices or anything that you can just think of, like a couple quick hitters that, like, hey, if you're going to be on Etsy, here's something that you may not know, or that may help you win on the platform?
Don't worry about the
put you on the spot.
That's okay. No, there's all kinds. It's just a matter of kind of sifting through and getting to that. But don't worry about the fees. Everyone complains about the fees. It's one of the lowest fees in marketplace, that lowest charging marketplace out there. The extra 3.5% plus 20%, all the griping that you see around in the books, in the group, and people's shops getting shut down, like those are all things. The fees. Brain's going a mile a minute, but those, that 3% plus 25 cents, those are transactional fees that are on every platform. So that's not an Etsy specific thing. That is a marketplace, like an online e-commerce thing. Forget where I was going with the other one though. Don't listen to all the griping in the groups about, shops can be getting shut down. However, I'm 10 years running with 5 shops. And if you pay attention and read, the terms of service and try to do everything by the book, I'm not shut down, right? Like it's not, people gripe the loudest, right? Like nobody celebrates victories super loud. You have the odd person trying to, but like as soon as there's bad news, it travels so quickly, and people love complaining, and people like to find like-minded complainers so that they don't feel alone in lieu of fixing the problem. You know what I mean? Right. And then moving forward. So don't just jump in, honestly, because you're going to wish you did by this time next year if you haven't, had a first Q4 under your belt. It's not as scary as it is. there's people say like, yeah, you got to throw up 100 listings. There's no static number that, that will get you sales. What happens when you put up listings regularly and design regularly is that you get better at the process, and practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
Once you've got 100 listings up, those first 80 are going to be garbage. And you'll look back, especially at least the first 50, you're going to be like, holy crap, what was I thinking? But at least you know how far you've come, right? If you just practice. It's anything, man. Like, I'm an artist, but a graphic designer, but I've been given a talent in terms of art, but all it does is give me a little bit of a head start. But if I don't practice, like, you can lose your, the ease with which you can perform that talent, right? So yeah, just practice makes perfect, and anyone can do this stuff. There's YouTube videos, man, like millions of them, and there's tools out there that take the workout. You can design and look like a pro designer now, which is a little bit jealous, to be honest, right? Like, and there's all kinds of mentors and coaching. It's all out there for free if you want to pay somebody. And that's the other thing, like, if you want to pay somebody for coaching, then pay somebody for coaching. Don't listen to other people, because you might not like the way I sound or look or speak or deliver the same exact meat and potatoes that somebody else is delivering, right?
Exactly.
You might resonate with somebody different, but we could be telling you the same thing. So that's okay. And the dollar value behind, you want to pay $20, if that's enough to get your ass off the couch and like take action, then $20 is your number. If it's $1,000, $1,000 is your number. It's whatever it is. Don't pay that $20 and sit on the couch. It has to be, whatever it is that gets you moving to take action. So I mean, everything, there's no get rich quick, but I think, Etsy's the lowest barrier to entry that way in terms of e-commerce. So I don't know if that answered your question, but there's all kinds of ways and reasons, right? Like, I want to see everybody win. So like, I don't want to see excuses. It's so easy to sit in that comfortable rut, I call it, as opposed to the comfortable groove, right? Where it's easier to roll with the punches than actually buck yourself out and get moving. Everybody just likes to sit in that rut and complain and woe is me. But man, we got one life. It's not a dress rehearsal, right? Like, I don't know. Imagine what what's scary to me is thinking where I'd be now if I hadn't made the changes 10 plus years ago, right? Like, that's like truly scary to think that way. So like, man, you control everything, all the outcomes. Like, people just need to know that. These limiting beliefs, right? Like, oh my God, that first $100,000, I was like, no way am I ever going to make this much money. And then we did it, coaching, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, there's 6 digits before the decimal here. And I'm like, this is real. It felt like cheating, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, holy. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, this is real and legal.
Yeah.
Like, my God, like, like, what is going on? So then you just get a little bit of a taste and you want more. And then there's nothing better than making money at the same time as helping people. And then celebrating their victories, because I'm taking out all the pain points. Right. So that said, I don't have any courses or anything like that. I'm thinking about doing some like membership mentoring sort of thing, but like, I want to give all the information away for free that I never had a chance to be able to absorb. Right. Like, it just didn't exist. So I feel like, the internet is the world is vast, and the internet, the information is so great that, I mean, it's impossible to lose with the internet right now.
Yeah. And a lot of what you just said, it's like it was the impetus behind starting this show for Travis and I, like, because there was nothing when we started our print on demand journey that really gave you good information on what to do, where to go, how to do it, some advice, tips, tricks. And so when we first started, we looked and to see if there was something that would offer that consistently, and we never found it. And then finally, I don't know, 3-4 years into the journey, we finally decided to press record one day.
You got it. That's it.
Here
man.
We are 173 episodes later, but we're willing to give away, a lot of people ask us, that we've talked to, like, you guys are just like throwing gold out there, having guests on like yourself, Jay, that are giving great advice and great tips. And like, man, this is all for free. And I always tell people, like, that's the advice and the knowledge isn't going to be what actually makes the difference. It's when you get up and start to exercise, and instead of being knowledge obese. So that's what I said last week, like being POD information obese, and you're just sitting there doing nothing. So have all the information, but the percentage of people who will actually put it into action are shockingly low,
slim to none, to be honest, right? It's less than 1% is the stats, really.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Exactly. So Yeah, man. So we're going to go in a couple different segments here. You know, one of the things that we've instituted here that's become a mainstay of this show as Travis drops all of his electronics. Guys, buy a shirt. Travis needs to buy a new light. It's printondemandcast.com/shop. Where you can go. It works. It's fine. So we're going to go into everyone's favorite segment, the weekly dad joke. So let's cue that bumper.
Time for the weekly dad joke.
We have lots of those unnecessary bumpers, Jay. So that's just
terribly amazing.
All right. We basically, full transparency for those listening, we told Jay about this segment approximately 5 minutes before pressing the record button, and that's being generous. So that being said, you are the guest, and we always allow the guests to go first with the weekly dad joke. So Jay, what do you have for us for this week's?
I have, why did the melons have a wedding? Because they can't elope.
Nice. I like it. That was good. And you know what's crazy is we've never had a duplicate on the show.
Oh, no way.
You would think that it would happen, but no guest has ever shown up and been like, and given a repeat of something that's already been on the show. So I think that's incredible. It just shows how many groan-inducing dad jokes there are, including this one, Travis, which you will be giving us for our dad joke of the week.
You know, whenever I pay cash for something, I always make sure that I get all my change in pennies. That may seem illogical to some, but it makes sense to me.
I literally said "badum-tis" and then I see that happen. That was awesome.
There it is. So awesome. Well, there you go, guys. 2 dad jokes on this episode, and if you sign up for the newsletter, you get a third. So remember, you could just have all the dad jokes this week. So we're gonna move into
so
Jay,
much value. So
much added value. That
I'm going down this dad joke rabbit hole now.
Yeah. So we'll send you a couple accounts that Travis and I follow. Again, full transparency. Most times when we record, we spend 25 minutes just trading dad jokes. We have everything ready. We're just trading dad jokes, and it's.
Are you guys dads?
He is.
I am.
I am not. No, I have 2 dogs that I treat like my children, but obviously they're not. But it's gotten to the point where Travis and I will start to tell each other something, and we have to give like a 5-minute buffer to figure out if there's an actual punchline. So it's really not done great things for our communication as friends, because we don't know. We don't know, like, oh yeah, because we'll circle the block to get to a good punchline if we have to. It's ridiculous. So. Yeah. So yeah, all right. So we're gonna move into a portion of the show that we have with every guest called the Magic Questions. It's a list of questions that we ask everyone that comes on to the show. And like I said earlier, we have unnecessary bumpers for everything. So let's go to the one for this week's Magic Questions. That'll bring a tear to a glass eye, Jay. That's beautiful. All right, Travis, you want to go with the first Magic Question?
Sure. This isn't necessarily a magic question, but it's Magic Question adjacent. So I wanted to ask, as we end 2023, what are some of your print on demand goals, personal goals for you and your wife and your businesses for 2024?
Wow. Personally, so we just moved to Belize. We've been here November 1st, so like 6 weeks, not even going on 6 weeks now. Yeah, so personal goals here are to last the year that we have the lease for right now.
Nice.
That'd be the start, because we purchased a half acre 2 years ago, and we want to build on it, and that's the intent. Personal goals that way, because we want to make this permanent. However, living on an island is very different. On a very tiny island, it's about what is it, 3? I'm doing my conversions from metric here to miles for you guys. I think 3 miles by 1 wide. So it's very small. So living on an island is very different than 10 to 14 days vacationing, right? So personal goals that way. That I want to get Amazon cranking proper, Amazon Seller Central cranking with print on demand. I want to help more people make money and leave their crappy 9-to-5s. I want to, man, so many things I want to do. I want to start like some kind of coaching thing because I've been approached honestly 16 or 17 times in the last like 3.5 weeks from people asking for one-on-one coaching or one-to-one coaching for Etsy and or merch and Amazon merch. And I'm like, I don't want to commit to one person that way because it's weird. It's this weird imposter syndrome, right? Where I don't know if I'm going to be able to provide enough value to that one person who's crushing it on Etsy right now, but wants to get into merch. I'm like, it's these psychological barriers. Like, how can you be so amazing at one and not the other? But at the same time, it's like, I sucked at one or both at one point too. It's realizing that, you have value and you have knowledge, but so I'd like to kind of share that in a community aspect, right? Like some kind of membership where it's not a high ticket item, but it's just something again to, enough to quantify you getting off the couch and taking action, so you're not, POD info obese, and we can all suck and bowl together, but
love all the callbacks.
That's right. And I haven't heard bring a chair to a glass eye in like 10 years. So that was awesome. I don't know. So many things I want to do. Life is short. And that's the whole point, right? Here we moved to Belize and I can open my laptop and process orders in Q4 and then still go down, grab a beer at the bar and go for a dip in the ocean. Like, you can't do that at home. We sit there watching HGTV Caribbean Life for the last like 4 winters, right? So like the only shirt I've never owned that I always wanted to wear was "I live where you vacation," and that's
now you can
finally feel like I'm getting there. So like so many things we want to do. There's so many things, and it's all POD related, and it's opened so many doors. Like you guys are in the game too, and here you are doing your podcast, and there's different things. There's the income streams associated with print on demand are where I want to be blowing that up now, because it allows me to help more people and you get compensated for your time, right? Because you can't help everybody if you're not getting paid to some capacity. It's just the honest truth. Like you need, you got to put food in the fridge and spend time with your family too. Right. So, so many things. Yeah. I don't know. That's just a taste. That's just off the top right now. But,
that's great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. The next one we'll do is, let's say you had to start all over, completely lost all of your contacts, everything. What would you do to start fresh in the POD business?
First thing I would do is apply to Amazon merch. And then while that is pending and probably going to get rejected, I would open an Etsy shop and just keep applying to merch and keep going on Etsy. And then all those designs, what I stopped doing was uploading to the Redbubbles and TeePublics, all those other kind of like merch-esque things that just keep cranking, like hands off, no customer service. I would put them everywhere, put them all up. At least on like 3 or 4 other ones that I know would continue to work. I know that, both of those have reduced royalties for everybody now. So it's maybe not as great as it used to be, but it would probably be, no one can tell you no on Etsy, right? Unless you're not in violation of anything. So just start there. Like literally dive into a niche that yourself. So for me, it could be the graphic design space, the funny, I saw a T-shirt that said KERN, and if you know what kerning is, it's between, right? So with a zipper in between, like that was magical when you see it, right? So you wouldn't know that unless you're into typography or graphic design, right? You wouldn't understand that. So like, what life experience do you have that makes that you are better at than someone else? Leverage that. Come up with ideas and throw them up on shirts on Etsy, or whatever other products. If you think that saturation word is in your vocabulary, then look for other words. But everyone's always going to want a T-shirt, so like get that, understand that, right? Nice. I hope that's a lot shorter of an answer this time, but
no, it's great. Okay, last magic question. We call this the crystal ball question. I feel like we've asked everyone this particular one, even though we have like 7 or 8 or 9. What do you think the future of print on demand is? And this can go anywhere.
Oh man, I don't know. I think you're going to see a lot more AI automation with a lot of things, because you can open, I mean, you can leverage AI now.
Mhm.
A friend of mine now that we met in Riga, Latvia. He's got his own company. Am I allowed to plug it?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Hello Custom. So it's Steven Chen.
Oh,
It's a
yeah,
pretty
sure.
awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's text based only right now, but I mean it's AI based, so you can and it's integrated with Printify, so you can have custom. And this is where I think it's going too. Is like you can have a custom element on a shirt. So it's a J thing or a Josiah thing you wouldn't understand, right?
Yeah.
And you can change that name, and then
Mhm.
the AI will shoot you the proof, and you can look at it on your app and just approve the proof, and then Printify
Pushes it
automate, like
through to
it's all automated,
production.
and that's
Yeah.
it. So you could be like in line at the grocery store, order, here's the proof, okay, done. And like you don't have
Mhm.
to like I'm still typing out customization for everybody, right? Like
Sure.
so I
Mhm.
want to that's one of the other things I'd love to leverage in 2024. I think that's where we're going to see a lot of that going is more automation, but in a creative way, not just like I don't like having all my orders, automatically fulfilled because you screw one up and you have a big
Yep.
sales day, then you screwed up
Yeah.
many of that. If a design gets hot or goes kind of crazy.
Mhm.
But yeah, man, AI I think is changing. It's absolute game changer, and customization, personalization, I think is the way forward too. Because if you are struggling for ways to break into niches, just offer any kind of element of personalization, customization. It doesn't even have to be people's names or birthdays. It can be like
Mhm.
mom centric or dad centric, right? A
Mm-hmm.
little bit different than what's out there. And yeah, and man, if you ever see, you can't even get stuck anymore. You can just ask Chat GPT for a
Yeah,
couple of
exactly.
ideas, right? Like
Yeah.
there's no
Right.
excuses. So yeah, I don't know, man. Like
100%.
roundabout way of saying like, yeah, it's just gonna explode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Well,
POD is
Jay,
just it's just a baby
okay.
industry right now, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
absolutely. Jay, it's been great to having you on the show, man. So many great nuggets and tips and insight. It was fantastic to have you. Thank you for taking the time to hop on the show with us, and glad we got connected and we're able to make this happen. So as we're winding down, tell people how to find you, whether it's on your social media handles or YouTube channel. Let people know how to find you, where they can find you, and then we'll wrap it up.
Sure, thanks. My YouTube channel is Jay's Way, and you can find it by at Jay's Way Works. Etsy Print on Demand is the group name for my Facebook group, 20,000 plus. I think we're at 20,400 members already. Um, Pretty awesome spots. All
Mhm.
I give away all the stuff for free right now, so just come absorb, take action. That's about all I got in terms of I don't have any courses to sell or anything like that. I'm just trying to help as many as I can right now. Yeah, but honestly, I'm humbled and I feel privileged to have been on the show. So thank you guys, man. It's been nice to actually connect, seen and heard your
Yeah.
names in circles. So yeah,
Awesome. Yeah, it
Sure,
was
man.
fantastic, and look forward to doing it again.
hundred
And
percent.
catching up a couple months down the road, see what you're up to, see how island life is going. Check in a year, make sure you made that lease. See if you got the
Yeah, yeah.
T-shirt. It'll
Yeah.
be
Oh,
you'll be good to go.
I'll have a serious encyclopedia of dad jokes for you too. 100%.
Nice,
Sweet.
Yeah.
nice. Can't wait, can't wait. All right, thanks for. We'll talk soon, man.
Take care, guys.
Yep. We want to thank Jay De Souza again, all the way, like I said, from Belize. And I was doing some research, and check this out. This is where we live, right? This is Denver, Colorado area.
Mhm.
You zoom all the way out and go here, and then you go really, 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 really far in. This is where Jay, he was joining us from, where Jay was zooming in from. So that's where our guest was. So that's quite a
Yeah.
long distance call. For him. But hey, so much goodness in that episode, Travis. I mean, I don't even know if I can really pick
Yeah.
a favorite of what he said, but he was just so many good. I particularly liked his advice on researching the niche and
Mhm.
sending designs to family and not telling them, just to figure out, does your design actually hold water or does it suck in bold letters? Which I still
Right.
think is a great t-shirt idea for the
That's
show. But
hilarious.
yeah, anything stand out to you in that interview as kind of like a highlight for you in our discourse with him?
Yeah, I mean, there was a ton of stuff. I just really enjoyed the fact that, after we, stopped recording, we were just talking for a while the episode kind of completed its upload and all of that.
Yeah.
And there's been so much like parallel journey, parallel things that have happened in our print on demand careers, both us and Jay. And it was just really fun hearing some of the stories. And, he's done some production for a while. We've done production for a while, and just all of those different things. We've both been in the industry long enough that we kind of can smell the BS a mile away, and I just really appreciated his kind of down to earth attitude about the whole print on demand, thing. And he's just keeping it real. So really sad that it's taken this long to actually, get an actual face-to-face meeting with him or virtual face-to-face meeting with him. But I just want to shout out Chris Kretz.
Yes, I was just going to say we need to give him his flowers here.
Exactly. Yeah, he's the one who connected us. He's told me about. He's like, hey, you should have Jay on the show, and he finally just took it upon himself to like literally create a chat with you, me, and him, and said, hey, I want to say both of you guys or all three of you guys are awesome in your own rights. You should connect. And I'm going to leave the chat now.
And he saw himself out. But
right.
Huge shout out to Chris. Thank you so much, man. And again, I said it in the chat, but very, very complimentary of the show, of Travis, of myself, and of Jay. So super, super cool to have been connected. And it does feel like there is some similarities. I think all three of us have, we also, retrofitted a 2-car garage into a print shop during the COVID seasons as well. It was before COVID, but it was in COVID too. So, and I understand his hate for ship stations sometimes, and there's lots of stuff that we all have in common. So, maybe one day the three of us will be able to sit and hang out in person and share a drink in Belize. Yes, that's what I heard him say actually was come to our 3-mile wide island and let's paint the island red. That's what I heard. And I'm sure he's not, as he's listening right now to the outro. But thanks again to Jay. It was a lot of fun. And guys, thank you so much for listening. Let us know what you thought of the show. Anything he said that stood out to you would be awesome as well. But we're definitely going to have him back on because there's just a wealth of knowledge there that is ready to be accessed. And speaking of a wealth of knowledge, guys, have you signed up for the newsletter at printondemandcast.com? All you have to do is go to printondemandcast.com and you'll get the invitation to sign up for our newsletter. We'll have an annual design calendar that you can take advantage of, plan your designs accordingly, what you're going to sell and around which holiday. And you just get more information, more tidbits, more tips, more insights, and an extra dad joke. I should have led with that. I could have just stopped talking an extra dad joke because that's what you guys want and that's what you need in your life as well. So guys, printondemandcast.com. Check out the weekly newsletter. Drops on Wednesdays, right, Travis? Do I have that
Wednesday night? Yeah, you probably get it in your email box Thursday morning. Yeah,
so take advantage of that. We'll be greatly appreciative. We're just trying to get as much information as we can out there because oftentimes you'll find that Travis or myself come across something that maybe we just want to send to you and not talk about it on the show. So you might get some exclusive access stuff as well in those newsletters that we might not even talk about on the show. So to be in the complete loop, to be in the circle of trust, as Robert De Niro calls it in Meet the Parents, subscribe to the newsletter. Again, printondemandcast.com is where you go to do that. So Travis, anything else before we wrap this episode up and send this one home?
Nah, we've gone long enough. Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all listening this far.
100%. So as always, for Travis, I'm Josiah. We'll see you next time right here on the Print on Demand Cast.
See ya.
Hey, babe. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular Show. If you've got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.